So at the end of episode 8, one of the questions was, what was the fate of Kane? Because Louis put the wheels in motion for Buckley to kill him, because she's sick of Franklin's decision making, and she's also had enough of working under Franklin because of his ways of doing business, and now she also went behind his back with killing Kane and going directly to Teddy for product, which hurts Franklin's organization, because as he said, 90% of everything he moves is through Louis, but Louis does really have the cheek to only offer up one location, after everything Franklin helped her to build. And you do have to say, everything that Manboy said just before he was killed is coming to fruition. His family is turning on him with Louis going behind his back. Leon wants to do right by their people, and he also wants to travel and go Europe or Africa with Wanda. And then there's his own mother Sissy, who's plotting behind his back with Ruben. So everybody around Franklin is slowly turning, and you could sense Franklin Saint was really hurt in this episode by Louis' actions. But where he was betrayed by Louis, he used this as an opportunity to get out of the game. A promise that he made to Sissy and Veronique. But the problem is, breaks up and betrayals with family and friends is one thing, but turning your back on Teddy is something completely different, and I'm sure this is something he won't allow to happen. And just like he said to Arvy, there is going to be another war around the corner. And again, it really does go back to the conversation that Arvy had with Franklin, where Arvy said people have their own war, and people like Arvy and Teddy, they go from war to war. And this is why it will always be impossible for Franklin to walk away. And I've mentioned before, Teddy and Franklin have always been involved in a deep game of chess, and the only way this ends is if either Teddy kills Franklin or if Franklin kills Teddy first, just like he said when he was on acid in episode 8, when he made the phone call to Teddy. But where Franklin made his move, I'm sure we can all expect Teddy to retaliate. But with that being said, we're going to come back to this diner scene in a bit more detail as we run through episode 9. So let's start with where this episode started, which was with Officer Buckley firing on Kane and his boys right outside the pool house. And where Officer Buckley killed 3 of his men, Kane ran away and he only put 2 bullets through his back. But he stopped because one of the officers was shot and killed. And we all know the police department, they take this shit serious when it's one of their own who gets gunned down. But this is where he learned Kane was in bad shape and he wasn't dead. And this wasn't a part of their deal that he made with Louis. The deal was to make sure Kane was put 6 feet under. But this also led to him being suspended from the task force, him surrendering his badge and gun, and also taking a blood test. And this really did send him spiraling out of control, because he just lost his job. He was responsible for the death of Officer Perez on his team, and now he couldn't even see his kids because of the state he was in. But regardless of how he lost his job and how unstable he was, Louis told him she's got a job for him, because he's got connections which still makes him valuable to our organization. But of course, only time will tell whether he will be, because when someone's on the rock, they're more of a liability. For example, we saw Franklin killing Rob, and we also know Louis doesn't take any chances, and she also told Jerome if she has to kill a cop to get another one, then she will. So I do wonder whether she was actually keeping him sweet just to make sure he doesn't do anything reckless, or whether she does have use for him. But let's move on to talking about Franklin and Leon's conversation. But just before we do that, this showed how they're still within their own little bubbles, with Leon who will always be loyal to the projects, but Franklin tucked away high up in his penthouse on the outskirts of LA. But coming back to Kane, Leon was pissed how Louis went behind their backs and used Officer Buckley to shoot Kane and his people at the pool hall. But Franklin turned into survival mode. He wants to survive and take care of Veronique and his baby, and he said he doesn't want to go to war with his family. Of course, things may change after he realizes his money was stolen, like the episode 10's trailer showed us, because in Franklin's words, nothing tears a family apart like money. But Veronique said the same as Franklin. She understood why Louis did what she did, which Franklin described as the right thing, but wrong way, because he knows this will cause friction between Leon, Louis, and Jerome. But we saw them going away and discussing how both of them have done things which makes them monsters, and how Franklin killed people not just to survive, but to win. But Veronique's past isn't clean either, and this is why she understands who Franklin is, and believes he will win. But coming back to Leon, we saw him visiting the hospital where he got the news Kane took a bullet to the spine, and he ain't walking again. So we saw Leon going to Aunt Louis, because he was trying to wrap his head around what Louis put in motion, because it was only a matter of time before this comes back. But her answer was, she wants to make a mark on this world, because as a woman, she'll get chewed up if she doesn't, and she also doesn't take any chances after what happened with Manboy, because she knows Kane will one day come back to finish what they started. And I do somewhat agree with this element, because you can't leave any loose ends, but she did go about this whole situation in the wrong way, and Leon left her by warning her she needs to be ready for what's coming next, because Kane's people will want blood. But this was only one of Louis' problems, so let's talk about her meeting with Teddy and Franklin. Now, where we saw her meeting with Teddy, I do think that actually the biggest talking point comes away from what Gustavo said. because he may be a man of few words, but when Gustavo talks, you listen, because he knows a blood feud is no good for anyone, and he even said Franklin's young and he has pride, and Teddy doing business directly with Louis will hurt Franklin. So let's talk about this conversation between Franklin and Louis, because their talk didn't go as Franklin expected, where he apologized and said he should have treated her more like a business partner, but where Franklin said he understood why she did what she did with Kane, and he was wrong, Louis echoed what she said in episode 8, it's too late, because she had already made a deal where she was going to buy her cocaine directly from Teddy, and this is where we saw Franklin tilt his head when you really know he's about to lose his shit. Because 90% of everything he moves is through Louis, and if she's gone directly to Teddy, there is no need for Franklin. But if Louis wanted to go directly to the source, then Franklin said good luck, because he knows with Teddy, there is no endgame. Just like Avi said, some people go from war to war, and Teddy is one of them. So Franklin actually saw this as an opportunity of his way out. So let's talk about this Franklin conversation that he had with Teddy at the diner, where Teddy was in a bit more of a good mood than usual, because we normally see him business first, and it's probably thanks to his relationship with Parisa, but Franklin apologizes for the phone call that he made when he was on acid. But this conversation wasn't about Franklin threatening to kill Teddy when he was on drugs, it was more about Teddy doing business directly with Louis. But Teddy described him working with Louis not personal, just business. But before Franklin got here, he said he'd done a lot of thinking, and during the time that Franklin and Teddy have worked together, even though they've been in a deep game of chess, they've made a lot of money together, but where Franklin spoke about him being shot, beaten, and him being a killer, it goes without saying the same could be said about Teddy. Both of them are being shot, beaten, and killed. But where Teddy came into this meeting in a good spirit and mood, he quickly changed his tone because Franklin told him he's got his money and he's done. But is he really? Because will Teddy let Franklin walk away? I don't think so, and this is where we're gonna see Teddy making his next move, and this can only either end with Teddy killing Franklin or Franklin killing Teddy. But what could still play a role in this is Sissy and Ruben, because he warned he won't be able to help Franklin if she doesn't help him, and he used Alton to trigger Sissy into giving her some more information, which she did. She told Ruben how Teddy's drug runner and gun supplier were at the wedding, and she was talking about Gustavo and Avi. And Avi did tell Ruben at the wedding he was a close associate of the groom's nephew. But just finishing on Leon and Wanda, we saw Leon telling her he meant every single word of what he said in episode 8, regardless of whether he was high. He said he wants to travel and go Europe or Africa, and Wanda is the person he wants to do it with, because she's the only girl he's ever loved. But we all know Leon wants more. He wants to help the projects, he wants to help his community and his people, and he wants to give back, which is something Franklin set out to do. But the game shifted, and he went from helping to trying to win at all costs. But I really do see a big death coming, because Louis' actions do have to have some consequences, whether it's with Jerome, Leon, or someone else. So I do think Louis and Jerome will have to quickly snap back into reality. So with that being said, drop all your thoughts down below for episode 9, and let me know how you see this playing out in episode 10. So drop all your comments down below, and of course if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything Snowfall and Power Universe related. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.